So, I mean, it's a little bit of an insurance policy he's sort of laying out there to maybe temper expectations, right, Sarah? Just to make sure everyone knows that, yeah, it'd be great, but in case he doesn't, here's the reason. We want him to be healthy. How hard is it going to be for Boogie to fit into that, idea that the Warriors brass has for his timetable?
That's a great way to phrase the question. How hard is it going to be for Boogie to fit in? Because he's the one that's going to need to do the fitting. I think smart move by Bob Myers. No pressure, no rush. Keep the timetable open so the media is not constantly asking at the start of training camp in December and January, when are we going to see Boogie? So I think that was very smart on his part. And when it comes to Boogie, the Warriors are going to win with or without him. So it's not a matter of when he comes back to help them win. It's about how he fits in, how he acclimates to the system. And more than anything, what does Boogie want? What are his goals? Are his goals to think about, let's not forget, he was primed for a max contract prior to getting hurt. And so now is he coming back to win a ring, to win a championship, to fit in with a team, to show what type he can be in a winning culture and in a locker room, or is he thinking about his next contract? So I think a big part for Boogie is going to be understanding the way the Warriors play, and I think he can be a perfect fit. I mean, he's a guy, how could he not fit into the style of which the Warriors play, but limited minutes, limited touches, limited numbers. Can he be okay with that and still be a good teammate?
Listen, to me, this is part of the mental games that are already at play here to a degree. We are trying to set expectations, then reset expectations. We are trying to, if in January he is cleared to play, but those first
Let's go through a hypothetical question. Say he comes back. Say he rushes it and even come back, he has some type of setback. And in that setback, it takes him maybe another month to be able to get back where now he's able to play. So we don't know all the scenarios, but there's flexibility within that. If Boogie misses most of the time because he has some type of setback, I believe that the Warriors, because when a player like Boogie has decided that I'm going to come to your franchise, that franchise also realizes that not only win the championship is what the goal is, that franchise is trying to help him repair his image. They realize that. It's a buy-in from them. If I'm going to come there for a lot less money, then you must be trying to help me to repair my image. So if they have a setback from an injury standpoint, I can guarantee what they're going to be saying. He's been great. He hasn't missed any treatment. The players really love him. And then, because they have such overwhelming talent, they would still try to utilize him in a playoff series because they're that much better. What difference if he didn't play any games during the regular season? You get to the first round of the playoffs. Boogie Cousins wouldn't hurt the Warriors. They're so much better than whichever team that's going to be. So I just believe in Boogie making this huge compromise. He called them. It's up to the organization to try to help him at all costs to try to get to the next season and help him get that next. They're trying to get their next trophy, but they also in this. It's baked in. They got to be able to try to help Boogie repair his image around the league.
So I believe that. Is there a sense that do you get that the conversation went sort of lines of, hey, I'm interested in you, and then the Warriors got together and said, well, where could we use him? Well, we could really use him in the postseason. I mean, we don't really need him during the regular season. They weren't playing their A game, if you will, last year during the regular season, and they kind of just, kind of walked their way in casually. But that's probably where they really do need him. Now it's just a matter of the fact of whether they can get him into the lineup before the
Well, and yeah, absolutely. But for the Warriors, I mean, I think who wouldn't take a chance at Boogie at that price? If you're the Warriors and you're replacing JaVale McGee, or you're, of course, replacing Zaza
Kevon Looney.
Kevon Looney. I mean, so it's not like there's some big shoes to fill, and that's where
I believe he can play in the playoffs. Because the role that they want the center to play, I'm more concerned about how do you miss all this time, say he misses all this time, how do you change style? Because offensively, they do have to change how much they move the ball. Defensively, they also have to change because they switch pick and roll 1 through the 5. And you cannot do that with Boogie. So how do they implement these changes if he's not on the court?
Without a doubt. And I think that's where they'll try to figure things out. And to your point about waiting until the postseason, I don't think it's going to take that long. But where do we use them? How do we split up minutes of players on the court so he may be the number one, the go-to option that we run through when more of the second unit guys come in? So I think there are variations of how you utilize his strengths.
Listen, I think we have to also be very honest about what this is. They don't need him for the regular season. They don't need him for the playoffs. They don't need him for the All-Star break. They don't need him for training camp. They don't need it. They swept the NBA Finals last year. Since they added Kevin Durant, they have played 8 playoff series. 7 of them went 5
I will say this. I do believe that, they did sweep the finals, but I do believe that there are 2 teams that will be better than the team they faced, that being Philadelphia 1 year and also Boston. I believe both of those teams have the ability to be better in the finals than LeBron and the Cavs were.
Agreed. So
I do think, because also they could have lost if Chris Paul would have been there. Right. So sitting here saying they don't need Boogie, we pushing it just a little too far.
Hold on. Wait. I don't think we're pushing it too far at all. For us to think the Warriors were overwhelming favorites going into this next season, did they need to add a single player, or did they just need to bring everybody back? They would have been overwhelming favorites.
Will we agree that they almost lost to Houston?
Yes, they did almost lose to Houston.
So what would we be saying this offseason? They need to get better? Or they need to come back? They're not the world champs.
No, but I will say Houston, I think, without Ariza and Mbamute are a different-looking team.
I understand all that.
But no.
But the Warriors sitting there saying we could just stay like we are, no, that's not what they did.
Hold on. That is absolutely what their plan was. Boogie called them. They weren't out there trying to add some major piece. They were totally content standing pat. Absolutely they were. They were going to use...
Okay, but once they got the phone call, what did they do?
Oh, of course.
They said, oh, no, we're too good for him. No, because we're a transcendent franchise. We'll take him too. All these other there was other people on that call. Boogie had other people who made the same offer to him. He decided not to take those.
I also think, though, the Golden State Warriors are so confident in their culture that they didn't think twice about adding Boogie to that. In the team that they had, the organization, the roster they have, what they needed, whereby other franchises felt like they may not want to take that risk.
They also had the confidence that if the worst things everyone says about Boogie are true, guess what we have the benefit of? Not needing him, and we can tell him to go home. We can tell him, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. We tried to help you repair your image. You've been a locker room disaster. We told you weren't going to get touches. You're demanding them. We told you weren't going to get the minutes. You're demanding them. Go home, because they don't need him, barring major injuries. Now, this is a team that's been almost unprecedented in NBA history over a 4-year stretch, avoiding those major injuries come the playoffs. Now, if they have a major injury, then of course he's a guy that is, to me, all the discussion around Boogie Cousins is it's an insurance policy. It is a guy that if the worst case scenario were to happen to Golden State, they have him there.
I do believe that there's someone in the Warriors organization, our coaching staff, that says, you know something? What if Philadelphia and Joel Embiid, if they get to the finals, you know something? It'd be hella nice to have Boogie Cousins. All right? Now, I just believe, based on how forward-thinking they have been, that someone has thought about that. If Boston gets there, not as concerned. But if my man Joel Embiid gets there, man, you better have DeMarcus Cousins. And I believe that type of equation, when you're looking at trying to win 3 out of 4, three in a row, 4 out of 5, those are the types of things that teams like that, they look at. We're not looking at them because we're not in the business. Ohio. Oh. Another guy from Middletown, Ohio.
The other guy.
Huh? Did you go out for the camp?
I have gone to other ones. He does basketball and football around the country.
You're a hooper.
Yeah, but not in a league like that. See, Kyrie, they're trying to repair the Jason Tatum image there that Kyrie doesn't like another superstar. So let's pair him up and do a camp.
All these Boston sycophants in my mentions, because yesterday I said, I don't know if Kyrie's going to enjoy how much of the spotlight Tatum's getting, sending me pictures from his camp. I didn't say you don't like Jason Tatum. I didn't say they can't be buddies. Kyrie is a different type of cat, and the type of guy that didn't want LeBron to ever come to Cleveland, and the type of guy that also, by the way, was angry that people were paying attention to his hot take that the earth is flat, might be the type of guy that doesn't love the spotlight being shined even on a good friend.
Why would he be doing a camp with the young kid, though? Because he wouldn't have to do that. He could do a camp on his own. Why would he be doing because this was recently formed.
Of course it was recently formed. I never said they don't like each other. But there's a difference between being buddies with a guy and wanting to make sure you are the face of a franchise. Make sure you're the face of the franchise in as close to your hometown as you can get in New York City, whether it be Brooklyn or the Knicks. People can send me these clips all they want about all these people whose Twitter handles are Celts Pat Stocks 92. Like zip it. Like there's real reason people like Chris Mannix that cover this team every day say the Celtics are worried about Kyrie leaving in a year. It's not made up.
We got to move on, but no mercy. You don't have kids, right?
No kids.
All right, when you get kids,
no mercy.
No block their shots. No mercy.
Teach them young.
Houston is the best option,
okay.
But I still go back to having an issue with Melo saying with Oklahoma City that he wasn't okay with a bench role, that he wasn't okay with coming in as a reserve. To me, if you're a player of even his caliber now, but what he was, how do you not say, I am willing to do whatever the team needs to win? Like, he is a guy who, what he's accomplished individually in his career, but having not won a championship, how is that not your ultimate goal throughout the course of your career, but especially right now? So you look at Houston, and it could be a possibility of him coming off the bench. How is it okay to go from Oklahoma City, who believes that they could be a contender, to now a team like Houston and be okay with that role? So I have hesitation in how he will fit in. He showed that he was able to play more catch-and-shoot basketball last year with Oklahoma City Thunder. He's an isolation guy, and Houston is obviously heavy on isolation, but he shot poorly from three. He shot poorly from three, to say the least, in the playoffs. So how is that going to fit into what Houston does? And that's just talking about the offense.
All right, but here, I think we're being a little unfair to Melo in this regard. I do not think he thought he was choosing starting over giving the best team the best chance to win. I think he felt the way to give the team the best chance to win is me starting. And Billy Donovan, when they acquired Carmelo Anthony, they didn't. The coach didn't say to him, "Melo, we want you to come off the bench." The players didn't say, "Melo, we want you to come off the bench." Some dude at a press conference to open his tenure there said, "Would you be open to coming off the bench?" And he scoffed.
And a good veteran player should have been like, "I'm open for whatever the coach thinks is best." If him and the coach hadn't talked about it, if him and the coach had talked about it, he's got an excuse. Hey, the coach told me he's looking at me to be the starter. I'm trying to fulfill what the coach. So as an option at this point in his career, knowing that he was going to be at best the third wheel, the answer, he could have answered the question better, even if he didn't expect to play coming off the bench.
But it was also, to me, at the end of this season. Not just, that came up in the beginning of the season when he first signed with the Thunder, but after this season, taking that same stance.
After the year, going into next season. And listen, he's not going to be there next year. I understand, that is a humbling experience. But Carmelo was not.
This is the thing. You keep giving credit to it being a humble experience. We don't know if it's humble for Melo. Like, for normal people, it might be. Man, when you got $150 million in the bank, somebody tell you, go home, I'm going to give you another $27 million. That ain't the most humbling of experiences for me.
Well, and he also, before to cut you, he also talked about being uncomfortable playing the four, and he had to move to the four, so that changed what he did, finding his shots within the offense. Like, the point, to your point about humble, I think he thought in many ways that it was the offense they ran, or what Billy Donovan did, or the position he was put at, and I didn't see a lot of ownership taken by him.
Well, then let me be perfectly candid here. If Melo doesn't recognize he's at a different stage of his career, the Rockets will not sign him. Like, they don't have to have him. It's not like we're like the Rockets or Carmelo.
I don't agree with you on that, because Melo doesn't have to. In the meeting, all he got to do is answer the questions the right way. When he gets on the court, we're going to see if his mindset really changed, because Hoodie Melo last summer got himself in the shape and everything. When he went to OKC, we saw what the result was.
Yeah, but here's the other thing about OKC, and I want to make this clear. Melo was not good last year. I get it. I also watched their games. who was the guy that's like, man, he needed more minutes?
Your guy Russ, though. Russ didn't bring out the best in him?
No. That's not what I'm saying. I said, who was the guy who Melo was starting in front of on OKC that were like, oh, he should be getting those minutes?
No, they didn't have the body extra, but it didn't matter. He didn't play well. He's not a good system player, Nick, and we haven't even talked about the other half of the court, the defensive end. We're just talking about right now, he's not that good of an offensive player.
Agreed.
That's where I think it's going to be a question. How do you put him on the floor and then go? Houston switched everything. The way they play, the biggest part of their jump last season was because they improved the defensive side of the floor. And what they were able to do was keep everyone on the perimeter with their switching. Carmelo, I don't see that's the guy that they will switch to.
They still found 22 minutes a game for Ryan Anderson, who people say what they want about Melo's defense. He is not worse than plotting Ryan Anderson. Eric Gordon,
but Ryan Anderson didn't play in the postseason.
He didn't play in the postseason. He was on the. I said during the regular season, he played 22 minutes a game. In the postseason, they shortened the rotation to 7 guys. They would have liked to have another guy they could put out there. Instead, they're relying on Gerald Green, who I like, but he was unemployed at the beginning of the season. I'm just curious, which NBA superstar's answer has been, I'll do what it takes to win?
Chris Paul,
I'm just curious.
When he went from the Clippers to Houston, hey, you need to hold the ball? Man, I'm going to do whatever I get to win. You sure you and Harden can get along together? Man, I'm here to try to win. And they had 65 games during the regular season, so I got one superstar that I saw do that last season.
That is a great answer, and it is the exact name I thought you were going to say, and you're absolutely right. And you know why we remember it? Because it's rare. Guys, Kyrie, one of the 15 best players in the sport, at practice, he said, hey, man, this is what we need to run our offense better.
Okay, if it's rare, Nick, why do you expect Melo? Besides him being from Syracuse, why do you expect him to do it? If it's rare, okay, like we admit, this is real rare.
No, I didn't.
Melo is not the person that I would be as the poster child that, hey, this is how you...
I'm not expecting Melo to say, I'm going to sacrifice to do whatever it takes to win. The point that I am making is that he is short on options. Chris Paul, it was noteworthy because he had all this plethora of options. He goes to Houston where he's going to have to take a lesser role. What are these winning teams that are pursuing Carmelo? It might be the Lakers, who aren't yet a winning team, but they have Bron, and the Rockets. We hear Philly a little bit. Any of those teams are going to come to him and say, are you going to understand where you are in your career? And if not, they will not bring him in.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it. We see guys signed all the time, and they get there, and their role is not the same. And they're signed, and they're on the roster. And for us to think that Melo is going to turn down this opportunity just because, I don't know if I want to be a role player. He wants to play basketball. And if he wants to play basketball, he should change his attitude.
I just think he still thinks he's at the level of CP3, though. I think in his mind, he's looking at, this is his boy. CP3 wants him there.
Just because you can still get in the VIP at the club don't mean you still VIP. And that's where Melo is right now. Buying his way in the VIP, but not really VIP.
But if he buys in, I believe he could be good. To circle back, I do believe he's a good fit here, and I think it's systematically it is different than for as much as we want to talk about Oklahoma City or Russell Westbrook or how much ISO ball that they play. I think this systematically could work for him, but I believe there has to be the buy.
But buying in means Carmelo Anthony doing something he has not been comfortable doing anywhere else. So that's the big if there. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Coming up, which NFC team is primed to take a big step forward next on First Things First?
I'm going to teach you